Hello, everyone. My name is Patrick Napier, like Andrea said, and I'm here at UCR Office of Financial Aid. And we're here today to talk to you a little bit more about financial aid for graduate students. So here on our first slide, you can see that our agenda for today will include a program interview, a program overview, which will include the free application for federal student aid, which some of you might have heard called the FAFSA, logging into your GRAL account, reviewing your award through your GRAL account, any additional requirements for the unsubsidized Stafford loan or for the Graduate Plus loan, and then aid disbursement and payment to your account. So if we can go to the next slide. Let's first talk about the FAFSA. So the FAFSA is sort of your one-stop application for all financial aid programs at UCR. So I put the URL there. It's fafsa.gov. Make sure you go to fafsa.gov and not fafsa.com, because fafsa.com is a scam. So you'll never put your Social Security number in anything that doesn't end in a .gov. So this is where you'll go when you want to fill out your application for aid here at UCR. If you're a first-time attendee, you want to make sure to click on Start a New FAFSA. So it goes to a new FAFSA, and then if you're a returning FAFSA applicant, then you can just hit Login, and it will take you to your previous application. It'll pre-populate your previous application's information into the new award year. So you want to make sure that you fill out a new FAFSA every year between January 1st and March 2nd that your attendance at UCR. So if we can go to the next slide. The FAFSA login page, which you can see here, will need your first and last name, your Social Security number, and your date of birth. You'll also have to do an FSA ID, which is a separate process, and you can just click on the Need Help menu, and it will take you to pertinent information about how to do these relevant things to log in to your FAFSA. Anytime you need help throughout the FAFSA application process, specific individualized help can be found just by clicking into any specific box and then clicking on Help. Most of them have a pop-up dialog box like the one you see to the right, which shows specific information that's relevant to logging in. So if we can go to the next slide. Here you want to make sure that you select the correct FAFSA award year. So if you're attending between July 1st, 2015 and June 30th, 2016, then you're going to fill out a 2015-2016 FAFSA. So even if you start attending in March 2015, you're still going to need to turn in a 2015-2016 FAFSA. If you're attending between July 1st and June 30th of 2016-17, so after June 30th of 2016, then you'll need to do a 2016-2017 FAFSA. And as you can see listed there, all the award years for the FAFSA are listed at the top of the page. So you just want to make sure that you select the correct FAFSA. There's a much more detailed presentation on the Financial Aid Professional website. It's called a Dear Colleague letter, and it has all of the information you could possibly need about filling out the FAFSA as an independent student. So you just go down to the part of the presentation that says independent student. All graduate students are independent students and not dependent students. So if we can go to the next slide. This is what your student portal will look like. So when you first get admitted to UCR, you're going to receive your student ID number, your permanent PIN number, and these, in conjunction with your date of birth, are how you log in to your GRAL account. I put the URL here for where to go to log in to the GRAL account, and if we can go to the next slide. When you log in, you can see on the left side of the screen, there are any of the administrative processes that you could need to do at UCR. So if you need a registrar or student business services or financial aid, you can see all of those things, and they each have corresponding applications that are relevant to that department. So for instance, if you, under financial aid, you can click on application status, and it will go to your 2015, 2016 application, and you'll be able to see what needs to be done and what has already been done. There's a drop-down dialog box for each year. So 2014, 2015 will have its own year, 2015, 2016, and then if you need to, it'll be 2016, 2017 will be the next year. So if we can go on to the next slide. You can see here, once you log in and you click the appropriate award year, there'll be relevant documents listed for what you've already received and what you need to receive. So received documents, you can see here that this student for the 2015-2016 award year has completed his FAFSA application. And if there's any additional documentations necessary, like your permanent residency card or citizenship requirements or maybe tax transcripts, whatever's needed to award you, those will all be able to be viewed through the student portal. Once you're awarded, you'll be able to view and accept your award provided all the requirements have been met. So if you have all information necessary to be awarded, then we will award you, and then you can accept those awards. And we'll go into the additional information that you have to complete to receive the awards on the next slide. Graduate students typically only receive the unsubsidized Stafford loan and the Graduate Plus loan. So remember, you have to be enrolled in at least half-time, 6 units, for these funds to disperse. So if we can move forward to the next slide. You're not done when you just accept the award through GRAL. So your next step, and this will be available through GRAL, you'll be able to view this, is to go to what's called studentloans.gov. This is another federal government website like the FAFSA where you can finish or complete the additional loan application information. So for the unsubsidized Stafford loan, for instance, you're going to need to complete entrance counseling and a master promissory note. So the master promissory note is the promise that you're going to pay back the federal government the loan that you borrow. And then entrance counseling gives you all the information that you could need to know about the criteria for the loan, such as interest rates. For the Graduate Plus loan, this loan requires a credit approval. So they are going to run your credit, and which is why they need a Plus loan application. The master promissory note for the Graduate Plus loan is also required, which is separate from the master promissory note from the unsubsidized Stafford loan, and it's only necessary if your credit is approved. If you're a first-time borrower for the Plus loan, you'll also have to complete entrance counseling for the Plus loan in addition to the entrance counseling for the unsubsidized Stafford loan. And you can see that I've highlighted the area on the studentloans.gov website. There are several bars: the undergraduate students, parent borrowers, repayment and consolidation, and you're going to make sure to click on the graduate professional student icon. If your credit is not approved for the Graduate Plus loan, it's your responsibility to follow up through studentloans.gov. In other words, we don't notify you if your credit is not approved. The federal government notifies you that your credit is not approved. So if you're not approved, you can either find an endorser, which may mean completing entrance counseling and having your endorser complete a master promissory note. And then if you feel like the credit decision was incorrect, then you can try to appeal the credit decision. But this is all done through studentloans.gov and not through UCR Financial Aid GRAL portal. So if we can go to the next slide. Once you're in, this is what it looks like when you log in to studentloans.gov. And once you're in, you want to make sure that you are selecting the correct loan process for the loan for either loan that you intend to borrow. So for the PLUS loan requirements, which I've highlighted there, remember you'll need to complete the PLUS loan application, a master promissory note, and possibly entrance counseling if you decide to obtain an endorser. You can also see the navigation planes for the unsubsidized Stafford loan requirements, which include, like we said earlier, completing entrance counseling and the master promissory note. So I like to drive this point home because this is often a question. You do have to complete a master promissory note for each loan that you borrow. So even though you've done a master promissory note for the unsubsidized Stafford loan, you may still need to do another one for the Graduate Plus loan if you've accepted both through your GROW portal. So if we can move to the next slide. For entrance counseling, for the federal direct loans, you also want to make sure that you're selecting the correct PLUS loan application. So there's entrance counseling and master promissory notes and applications for the Parent Plus loan. So this is oftentimes confusing because you're not a parent borrower, you are a graduate professional student. So you will never have to do the Parent Plus loan request. You will always do the Graduate Professional Plus loan request and entrance counseling and master promissory note. So I've sort of highlighted it there so you can see that there's one for graduate professional student borrowers and one for parent borrowers. So if we can go on to the next slide. You also want to be careful when you select your entrance counseling. So like I said, if you're getting an endorser for the Graduate Plus loan or you're a first-time borrower for the Graduate Plus loan, you'll have to complete entrance counseling. And you want to make sure that you don't complete entrance counseling for the Parent Plus loan and complete it for the Graduate Professional Plus loan. So you can see I've highlighted those two. This is a very common error to do a Parent Plus loan entrance counseling and master promissory note and not do the Graduate Professional master promissory note and entrance counseling, which is for graduate students. So we can go to the next slide. Here you can see I've also highlighted the two master promissory notes that are typical for graduate students. The first one is for the subsidized, unsubsidized Stafford loan. So while you are only taking the unsubsidized Stafford loan, it is a single master promissory note. So you'll want to make sure you select that correct master promissory note. And then for the Parent Plus loan, you want to make sure to not do a Parent Plus loan, but rather a Graduate Plus loan. So the master promissory note, like I mentioned earlier, is the promise to the federal government that you are going to have to pay back your loan, which is why you need to do one for each loan that you decide to borrow. So if we can go to the next slide. Here on your student portal, you'll be able to see once everything is completed that the payment has posted to your account. Students often will be worried because Student Business Services post the charges for the year well before we post the payment for the year. So they'll see charges on their account for $8,000, and then we have not yet originated the subsidized and unsubsidized Stafford loans. So they'll freak out because they think they have to pay, $8,000 before the loans disperse. If you have completed everything you need to complete for the loans and it's showing as pending and accepted on your account, then you don't need to make that payment. All you'll need to do is wait for the loans to disperse, and we always disperse 10 days before the start of the academic year. So 10 days before you start classes is when the loans will disperse. If there's any late fees or credits or anything like that, it will appear on the student account activity screen. And just below that, we encourage all students to set up direct deposit, especially for graduate students who are not on campus because you don't, or not even in the state, in the case of some of the MSOL students, because you don't want to be waiting for us to mail a check to Oklahoma or wherever you live. You should set up electronic funds transfer, so once the aid disperses and pays off your mandatory fees, the remainder will go directly into your bank account. And if you have any more questions about anything related to student account activity or direct deposit authorization, you should contact Student Business Services here at the school. So if we can go to the next slide. You can see here, this is one of many frequently asked questions that we get sometimes at UCR for graduate students. The first one, should I borrow the federal direct loans, or should I borrow from a private lender, or maybe even against my retirement? So as a graduate professional student, you may experience different questions about what to do with your loans because you're not an undergraduate student. You might have a 401k that you can borrow against, or a private lender. But the answer to that question is the Financial Aid Office is not a financial advisor. So while we do advise students in the processes to receive financial aid, we would never tell you what aid to borrow. That's entirely up to you. So you want to make sure that you discuss with your family and maybe even your financial advisor about what you should borrow and if there's better borrowing opportunities elsewhere. So we're not allowed by law to tell you how or what to borrow, but rather just give you information about the loans themselves. The next question is, why are there other items like room and board, books and supplies, transportation included in my budget if only the tuition and campus fees are mandatory costs? So UCR, like most schools, creates an estimated budget based on the average cost of attendance for a year, and then awards students based on the assumption that they will be full-time students and unable to work during their education. So if you are working and you're doing the MSOL program on a part-time basis, you may not need the extra loan money to live. So you can just borrow for the items that you need. So if you need things for tuition and fees and books and supplies, then those are the things that you can borrow for rather than taking out the full cost of attendance items. And if we can go to the next slide. Thank you very much for listening to Graduate Student Financial Aid today.
Thank you so much, Patrick, and thank you all for joining us today. We hope that you found this information to be very useful and informative. For more information or additional questions, please feel free to call the admissions office at 888-251-7718, and that will conclude our financial aid overview webinar for today.